Ugh, that check engine light. It pops on and your heart just sinks a little, right? But what if I told you it's not always a disaster? Sometimes it's just a puzzle. And today, we're going to crack a very specific one for all you Honda owners out there, the P1165 code. So, you grab your scanner, you plug it in, and boom, P1165. It looks pretty technical, I know, but try to think of it less as a huge problem and more like a clue your car is giving you. Let's follow the breadcrumbs together and see where it leads. Okay, so this is where our little investigation really kicks off. Your car is trying to tell you something very specific, and our first job is to figure out what it's saying. So what on earth does P1165 actually mean? All right, so what is this thing officially? P1165, Lean Air/Fuel Bank 1 Sensor 1 Range or Performance Issue. Yeah, I know, it sounds super complicated, like something straight out of an engineering textbook. But don't worry, let's break down what your car is actually trying to tell you. In plain English, all this means is that your car's main computer is getting a weird signal from the primary oxygen sensor. The signal's just off. It's not what the computer expects to see. That's it. That's the heart of the issue, right there. So to really get what's going on, we need to meet the two main players in this little drama, the part of the car that's sending the message and the part it's complaining about. First up, we have the Powertrain Control Module, or PCM. This is the big boss, the central computer that's basically running the whole show under the hood. It's the one that threw up the red flag and turned on that check engine light. Yeah, the easiest way to think about it is the PCM is your car's brain. It's taking in tons of information from all these different sensors, and when one of them reports something weird, it sends out this error code to let you know, hey, pay attention to this. And who is it complaining about? Well, that would be our other key player, the Lean Air/Fuel Sensor, or LAF sensor. You probably know it by its more common name, the oxygen sensor. Its one and only job is to measure how much oxygen is left in your exhaust after the fuel burns. So if the PCM is the brain, the LAF sensor is kind of like the nose. It's right there in the exhaust pipe, sniffing the fumes. It then reports back to the brain, telling it if the mix of fuel and air is too rich or too lean. Getting that mix just right is absolutely crucial for your car to run well and keep emissions low. Now, here's something really interesting. This code doesn't just pop up whenever. The PCM is super specific about when it runs its little test. Imagine this. You're cruising down the highway, maybe 50, 60 miles an hour for just a couple of minutes. Then you see your exit, you take your foot off the gas, and you just coast down to a stop. It's right in that moment, as you're decelerating, that the brain checks in with the nose. And if the signal from that sensor is all wrong, bam, that's when the P1165 code gets logged. All right, so we know the what and the how. Now for the big question, the why. What's actually causing this? Let's line up our three most likely suspects. Okay, so there are really only three main culprits, and it's best to think about them in this order. First, and this is super common, it could just be a wiring problem. You know, a loose connection, a frayed wire, something simple. Second, the LAF sensor itself could just be bad. And last, and I mean last on the list, it's possible the car's brain, the PCM, has a problem. So that brings us to our game plan. How do we actually troubleshoot this thing? We're going to walk through this step by step, starting with the easiest and cheapest things first. No need to just start throwing parts at it until we have to. Here's the plan. It's a simple three-step investigation. Step 1, we're going to put our eyes on the wiring, give it a really good look over. If everything there looks good, we move on to step 2, the sensor itself. And only then, if we've ruled out both of those, do we even start to think about step 3, the PCM. Okay, step 1, detective mode. You're going to want to get in there, maybe with a good flashlight, and really examine the wires going to that sensor. Are there any obvious breaks? Is a wire rubbing against a hot part of the engine? Do the connectors look clean, or are they all green and corroded? Seriously, you'd be amazed how often the problem is right here, just a simple bad connection. All right, so let's say the wiring looks totally fine. No issues there. Well, now our investigation turns to the LAF sensor itself. Think about where this thing lives, in the super hot, dirty exhaust stream. Over time, they can get gunked up with oil or coolant, or, they just get old and fail. This makes the sensor itself a prime suspect. And this brings us to step 3. You've checked the wiring, it's perfect. You've even swapped in a new sensor, and that darn light still comes back on. Well, now you have to consider the final, and I mean least likely culprit. It's pretty rare for them to go bad, but it can happen.
The PCM itself could be faulty. This should always, always be the last thing you check.
Okay, let's pull all this together. We've gone through the clues, we've identified our suspects, and we've laid out the investigation. Now let's wrap this up into a clear action plan you can actually use. So, when you see P1165, just remember this. It's a problem with your main oxygen sensor system. Always start with the simplest, cheapest fix first. Check that wiring. More often than not, it's either the wiring or the sensor itself has just given up. And please, remember that a bad PCM is possible, but it is way down the list of suspects. Check the other two first. So there you have it. That check engine light isn't so scary anymore, is it? It's not a mystery, it's just a message. And now you know how to decode it. You know the players, you know the likely causes, and you know exactly what to do. So the only question left is, what's your first move going to be?